Imagine a person who is in a jail and he receives a black warrant. Tomorrow he's going to be hanged. But this person is very happy because he thinks tomorrow it's the time to go back to his house. Yes, I'm speaking about those people who have severe mental illness like schizophrenia. It's like a cancer of the brain, and they're punished. Should they be punished in this condition? Would that serve any purpose? Would that be helpful for the society? We will talk about this. Just look at the right side. We are all locked in the same fashion, the way this person is. My name is Usman Hotiana. I'm a student of psychiatry. Brain is my first love, and I'll talk about it. We are all wearing masks. This mask has different layers. And through the mask, we keep on looking at life. We keep on thinking about a lot of thoughts. Some thoughts are shared, some are harbored, and a certain discipline is required. If you want to live through, a certain discipline is required. But the brain is the greatest discriminator. All of you, those who have brains which are more stronger, who can make good decisions, who can resist an impulsive decision, who can focus to a goal, they're much better equipped to face life than those who don't have this capacity. But while intellectual capacity of the brain is fixed, luckily, we have something called emotional capacity. This capacity can be increased. But how it can be increased? What needs to be done? A lot of training is required. As a child, I loved fighting movies, martial art movies, and you remember all those movies have a simple template. There's a fighter who looks for a master, and the master comes, he trains him, he makes him scrub the floor, wash the walls, run after the hen. And after this experiential training, we find that fighter is ready to fight. And now he can see those things, not through his eyes, but his other senses. Philosophers also need a master. I love philosophy. As a child, I was an introvert. I used to go through the books. And books were my first contact with the previous generation. This person, Wittgenstein, had a complex history. He could not express himself very well. And he discovered that the best way to talk about something is in the form of a story. So this Wittgenstein goes to Bertrand Russell and asks him, "Sir, can you tell me something?" He said, "What?" He said, "Can you tell me, am I a fool or a genius?" Now, Bertrand Russell was sick of this guy who was always asking questions and was a little awkward, a bit autistic-like. So Bertrand Russell says, "Okay, go and write me a page of anything." And next time when he brings that page, Bertrand Russell is shocked. Now, Bertrand Russell was a philosopher and a mathematician. And his famous book, Principia Mathematica, was about the logic of mathematics. This Wittgenstein had written, in fact, a critique of that book. So a true master can look and identify a student who has the capacity. This book by Hermann Hesse It talks of a place called Castilia. It's a fictional place where a lot of masters come together and a lot of learning takes place. I was always looking for this place, and I went to King Edward Medical University looking for a Castilia, some masters. Unfortunately, I was surprised. It was a controlling center. Same thing which I was looking or going through my school, college, the traditional system, trying to control, that was there. So it made me think that something needs to be done. Next step was my psychiatric training. Now I was planning to go to USA, have an American life, but somebody compelled me to go and do a bit of house job. When I met these two professors, Professor Faisal Masood and Professor Necessitates, I was inspired. I said, a good work is going on, and I can learn something from here. That one drop of attention, one little appreciation was enough for me because I hadn't experienced it beforehand. So I stayed here and I chose psychiatry keeping two things in mind. Number one, I kept the materialism neutral. If there's no money, no problem. And number two, people's opinion. I have never bothered about people's opinion. So psychiatry was an easy choice for me. Brain was already I was interested, and this is how I entered psychiatry. Now going to psychiatry, I realized new things. I realized that society does not think that brain is important. Rather, it thinks brain is extremely useless. I saw people were more interested in their muscles, in the gyms. They were more interested in vitamin D, their skin colors, their body shapes, everything. But the brain, they felt that brain is such that it cannot be broken. It did not require any checkup. Although the society was crying with the pandemic of low attention, impulsivity, substance abuse, wrong decisions, but brain was perfectly fine. If somebody had a problem, that must be the magic. Let's go to the quack. Ask yourself, if somebody has a heart failure, would you go to a magic sweet swear or a healer? Or you'll rush to PIC, Punjab Institute of Cardiology. This discrimination made me think that the prisoners are no longer safe, and as a society, we don't even know what is happening. This is a story of me meeting a master. When I first passed my psychiatry, I became a consultant. I went to his hospital and I took a picture for this lecture, that when I'll tell my story, this person will come over and over again. This was not the first time I saw him. Before this, I had heard this master's voice and I was mesmerized. But I was a house officer, I hadn't seen him, and the effect easily weared off. Later on, I went to the University of Health Sciences doing medical education, but again, there was no contact. He's sitting in the first row, and I'm standing here. So it is like falling in love. Falling in love requires a reason to meet the beloved. This reason came out in this one thing, which I'm very happy I did. What I did was, after consultancy, I wrote an appeal about that prisoner, that this prisoner is a confirmed patient of schizophrenia. I hadn't met the patient, but I went through hundreds of documents of 16 other psychiatrists and concluded that this is a case of treatment-resistant schizophrenia, and it's irreversible. This person should not be hanged, but given treatment. Just like all the Western countries, all the justice systems, nobody allows a legally insane person to be hanged. So this was my journey, which brought me to my master. Now next year, in 2016, I go to the forensic workshop. I met him, and he took me to the stage and said, sit over here. And later I asked him, why you made me sit over there? And he said, I was checking your vibes. So this was very strange for me that a super psychiatrist is checking vibes, energy. I was like, I haven't heard or read or didn't make sense to me. This guy was a spiritual master. He's like one of the most accomplished psychiatrists in Pakistan who trained the maximum number of psychiatrists. And this guy is like energy horse. He's like a very high IQ, trained from the best colleges in the West. And this person, listening to Sufi music, telling Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan, Khan Sahib, you have to write, you have to sing in Farsi. And Nusrat Sahib said, I don't know Farsi, I'm just metric pass. And he said, no, I will choose the text for you. A big supporter of arts and culture. So he asked me, what do you like? I said, I like philosophy. He said, do you know what is the best philosophy? I said, no, you tell me. And he said, spirituality is the best philosophy. I was like, okay, tell me more. And he said that psychiatric disorders are heavily due to the spiritual disorders. And he told these succinct terms: lustosis, gradiosis, selfishitis, compassionemia, isolatia, doutemia, mutemia. So he created these fancy terms to make me understand that these are the problems which are causing the brain some problem. We have to repair these two. And these were new for me. I wasn't exposed to these things previously. So I was in a lot of awe. There was like a spiritual libido, a falling in love kind of thing, a lover and a beloved. I could hear him for hours and hours. We would sit on FaceTime sometimes. He used to come over here, we used to sit and talk, and he introduced me to these spiritual terms: the suffering, the longing, the meeting of the beloved, the unity, the separation. And these concepts really interested me and changed my style of practice. And now suddenly I saw difference in my practice. I could relate to the patients at a much deeper level. The ashiks, I call them ishkoses. Following this training, then he calls me at his department in Islamabad, Institute of Psychiatry, for a lecture on forensic psychiatry. It was a very memorable trip. I went over there. The topic was Forensic Psychiatry and Law, a Tale of Torrid Love Affair. I had few chances to go abroad to meet other experts on mental health, forensic psychiatry. And in Pakistan, I teamed up with some people. The same case was going on from 2016 to 2021. I had the chance to speak to the Justice, Umrata Bandyal. I told about the case, and he appreciated. But nothing concrete was being done. This is Professor Mowaddat Hussain Rana. He's a person who helped in the future to help the judges understand the forensic issues of the mentally ill. This gentleman is Justice Shakilur Rahman. Me and him sat down and created the text, how to convince the judges about the latest science so that science can enter the courtrooms. One of the generational gap was that science was not reaching the law. So this statement in 2016, Pakistan court said schizophrenia is not a mental disorder. And it shocked all the psychiatrists in Pakistan. A lot of awareness camps started. This is like saying cancer is reversible and is nothing and we will do something to him. Our efforts were fruitful. In 2021, Supreme Court finally accepted our scientific arguments and accepted that schizophrenia is a mental illness and they should not be hanged and they should be treated respectfully. Shams and Rumi stayed together for 4 years, and the 4 years had passed. In 2020, my master disappeared quietly. These are the 4 pillars of humanities which we deal in mental illness. These pillars are psychoanalysis, sociology, psychology, and spirituality. These pillars were shaken by a new master. Now, I've met another biologist, Dr. Bhaskar Mukherjee. This guy is autistic level genius in molecular psychiatry. And he introduced me that all these states are actually brain networks. When we talk about the ishq, it's the highest form of organized, motivational reward networks of the brain. That is the highest form a brain can work. And when we are longing for a beloved, it's the limbic surge, it's the emotional fire. And when we are intoxicated, the same nucleus which causes addiction, nucleus accumbens, that fires us up. And lastly, when we find ourselves losing, our default network is actually so much expanded that we have an ego dissolution and we can integrate with the beloved. Thank you very much for listening. The conclusion of today's is emotional training is important, but the healthy brains should be screened. If you're exercising, a proper nutrition should be there before the training, before going to the blood sport. Make sure the brain is healthy. Otherwise, we don't need robots. We are already living in digital silos, and we will be the new robots. Thank you very much.